When you think of ESPN, you think of one name, Stephen A. Smith, and you think of the one show that Stephen A. Smith has made famous. That's First Take. First Take has really become the biggest sports show in all of television and media. Stephen A. has made First Take into one of the best programs on ESPN, and with Skip Bayless in the past and Max Kellerman now, they've proven with their ratings that they provide entertaining sports debate throughout their total 2-hour segment. But as I've watched First Take throughout the years, I've been a fan of Stephen A. Smith for years on end, ever since Kwame Brown. But right now, when I turn on the television and go over to ESPN at 10 o'clock Eastern, I cannot stand what I see on my television screen. First Take has really divulged into one of the most annoying and disorderly shows I've ever seen on ESPN, who's known for their organization and their ability to get from point A to point B without much fluff. I'm going to be going over multiple things of why I can't stand today's ESPN First Take. And the main thing is that they focus more on the headlines than the actual debate. And now I know it's a show about Stephen A. and Max going at it, yelling at each other, rehashing the same topics over and over and over again. But if you want real sports debate and you want legitimate conversation about what's going on in the NBA or the NFL, First Take is the last place you should be going to. I'm going to be talking about multiple aspects of First Take that really contribute to how unwatchable it is today. Of course, we have to start with the man, the myth, the legend, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. has been known for years for his typical personality. He yells, he gives you his opinion, and he does not back down from a fight. And you need that character in a debate setting like this, especially for 2 hours when the same boring debate can get pretty repetitive and redundant if there's no one with personality actually at the desk. But Stephen A., his arrogance has somewhat led to his downfall for me. We've seen in the past couple months and even the last year or two that Stephen A. has lost a step when it comes to his predictions and how his hot takes are really just a way for him to bump the ratings for First Take. Now, don't get me wrong, Stephen A. should be on First Take. He should always be on ESPN because he is the most entertaining man on the network. Don't get me wrong, Stephen A. Smith should stay on First Take, but you need someone to counterbalance him, and this is where things really get rough to me. Max Kellerman is not a good host for First Take. Skip Bayless was so out of left field, he was so crazy, he was so calm at the same time though, that their personalities, Stephen A. and Skip Bayless, perfectly counterbalance each other. Skip Bayless was so delusional and off with every take he gave that when Stephen A. made a mildly valid point, it made him look like a genius and a guy who really could put Skip Bayless in his place on any topic. But when Max Kellerman came on to First Take, I knew something was going to go bad. Max Kellerman, it's almost like he's trying to imitate Stephen A. Smith whenever he gets on the stage. He boasts about how he knows everything about everything. He claims that he wins every single debate. He's just, the arrogance on First Take brought by Max is just unlike I've ever seen before. And the difference is between him and Skip Bayless that it's not delusional arrogance. Skip Bayless, if he gave you a take about how Russell Westbrook was the best player in the NBA, you know that he was so crazy and out of bounds that he really didn't believe what he was saying. But with Max Kellerman, he makes points, whether it be about Tom Brady falling off the cliff or talking about the Giants every other minute, that he just comes off as just a guy who thinks he knows more than you do. And for a lot of people that may be true, but the way he goes about it just degrades people. It makes people seem like they're less than Max Kellerman. It makes people seem that they don't know something that he does, which really isn't true. And even past this general arrogance, his overall demeanor is that of degrading people. He takes cheap shots a lot of the time, and he just really does not give much credit or reasoning behind the points he makes. But there's one part of Max that is really the tipping point for me, and that is the petty laugh that he makes before getting any point across.
Eli's not even an NFL caliber player, certainly not a starter. He signed. I mean, of course he would regret the decision, without a doubt. Because if he really believes Eli Manning can still play NFL football.
You know, as soon as it's coming, he smirks his face, he lowers his head a little bit, and he gives that unbelievably annoying little laugh as he stumbles into whatever he's talking about. This laugh is the most infuriating thing in sports television. I swear. Find any other instance of someone doing something so routine that you can see it coming 10 minutes away on the exact topic you know is going to come on. It's absolutely, it just bewilders me how he does this laugh every single time he gives a horrible take on anything. Look at any Giants segment, any New York Giants segment, he comes in with his signature laugh and then makes a point that everybody on earth knew was going to come out of his mouth. Now, with the combination of this arrogance from Max along with Stephen A, you need someone, anybody, to keep them in line and keep the show on the rails. And that is supposedly the job of one Molly Qerim. Now, First Take throughout its history has gone through an assortment of hosts. Just so many. I'll pull up the list and show it to you right now. But we need someone to rein in the two gas bags that are Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. And that's supposed to be Molly Qerim's job. Now, I don't have anything against her giving her opinion, but when it's interrupting Max or Stephen A. or any other host, that is not her job description. She interrupts points, she doesn't allow Stephen A. or Max to finish their sentences, and this just adds to the confusion and the sheer just chaos that First Take is every single day. She inserts her opinion when there's no time, and when it's not the right time to insert that opinion. And that's overall the biggest problem with First Take, is that they do not let each other finish. If you have a debate, let's take a look. I'm recording this multiple days after the first and second Democratic debate. Now, in the second Democratic debate, just listen to this little snippet.
Really?
We're getting it right here. What is special about Flacco? One-time Super Bowl?
Big arm. He's a big arm.
Big arm.
By the way, there also
And
is
he's
this,
shown he can do it in the playoffs.
and there's the, because of
So is
that.
Keenum.
This is
And it's not as good as it used to be.
People are playing into their 40s.
well, one
I'm
guy.
just saying. I'm just saying who are really the other options that are out there. But
No, I would rather have Nick Foles than Joe Flacco.
But we're saying
No question.
mid-round pick,
Well, so
and I
what
know
is-
they're not releasing the deals. Don't you think Nick Foles is going to go for more than?
But
that?
you also have,
No,
that's
to
because Jordan didn't
Shaq-
have his legs. He came back in
Hold
the middle
on.
of the season.
Stop, Max. Hold on. I'm answering your question. The
So is your wait, okay, well, hold on.
Approaching
So
his
is your
prime.
argument? So is your
That is exactly what happens on First Take every single day. No one can understand what anybody is talking about when they're yelling and screaming over each other, saying the exact 10 names over and over again. Back in the days of Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, they would at least allow each other to finish a thought and to fully explain a point before going off on how blasphemous they are, or how much of an idiot they are, or where are they coming from, or why would they say something like that. Max and Stephen A. cut each other off every single point. They always have to get the last word in. It's the subtle jabs. It's them just talking over each other, talking over the breaks, talking over the commercials. It's just so infuriating to see two people who think they know everything about sports. And I'm not saying I know everything, but just to give their takes over and over and over again and not accept any opposition whatsoever. Now, I've gone through the main 3 problems with First Take, be it the 3 stars, but it would be a giant mistake to leave out some other grade A gas bags, mainly Will Cain. Now, I do not share a lot of the same sentiments about Will Cain. I've seen a big variety in the views of Will Cain. Some see him as the counterbalance to Stephen A. and Max, bringing some light to the situation, and others see him as just another talking voice who really doesn't know what he's talking about. I see Will Cain as more of the first option in that scenario. Max and Stephen A. never get challenged. They may quote-unquote challenge and debate each other every single weekday, but at this point they both know what each other is going to say before the topic is even proposed. Will Cain provides a breath of fresh air, although that breath may smell like cigarettes and hot ash, but it's still a breath of new air into the show. Will Cain, he does have a politicalization of his points that does sort of counterbalance the left-leaning tendencies that I see on First Take. He provides a more conservative view on the news. But overall, he's even more smug and arrogant than Max and Stephen A. combined. You see the cowboy get up, you see the slick back hair, the nice suits, and I don't have anything personally against Will Cain. I just think that he is brought in to be the sort of the explosive that sort of calms everybody down that they have to focus on. When Will Cain comes into First Take, they have to drop everything they're doing and deal with Will Cain. He really quells down the arrogance from Max and Stephen A. because they're not used to getting challenged outside of each other. And I couldn't leave this last co-host out. Whenever Stephen A. or Max are out, one Ryan Hollins decides to come in. And I'll just let the clips explain themselves.
Giannis was going to dunk his way through the playoffs and yada, yada, yada. Listen, this man is right now, he's the most overrated in basketball. Is he a good basketball player? Yeah, I love him. I like him. I like what he...
I'm sick. You are a hater. You go from hating on Kawhi to hating on Giannis. Giannis isn't overrated.
He's absolutely overrated.
Proceed. Tell me how he's overrated.
Okay. You guys put this man essentially in the NBA Finals this year. 60, whatever win season.
He went to the conference
balled
finals.
Balled out. You
Two wins away from the finals.
Hold it, chill.
MVP of the league, most likely.
You put him in the NBA Finals. He did not make it there. Not just did he not make it, he grossly underachieved. Grossly.
Overall, First Take has been a flagship program for ESPN. It's launched the network into the mainstream, into the biggest news you could really see on any major media source. It's really propelled the careers of Stephen A. and Max and Molly, and anyone that goes on First Take is due to get a big notoriety bump. But if they don't change something soon, First Take will become unwatchable. They do have some options to increase the civility of First Take. First things first, they need a better moderator. Nothing against Molly personally, but she just cannot handle two big personalities like Stephen A. and Max. We need someone who's going to take the bull by the horns and control the segments to keep them in time so we can get to all the issues we want to see and not interrupt when the people who are paid to give their opinions are giving their opinions. Listen, First Take is the #1 show for a reason. If you're looking for someone to be yelled at or fireworks to fly over a hot take on the biggest thing in sports that day, First Take is fantastic. But if you're actually looking for real sports debate, for people that actually have lucid points and actually respect one another, First Take is not real sports debate. First Take is two people getting on a stage and duking it out for the enjoyment of the crowd. If you want real sports debate, go to another show. Go to The Jump on ESPN later in the day. go to get up early in the morning with Greeny and Jalen Rose and Jay Williams. But First Take is turning into a different version of ESPN's Jersey Shore. And if it continues like this, I don't know if I could ever watch Stephen A. or Max ever again.